name is Rachel, and my artifact today is one of a group. I will explain. So everybody's had somebody die in your family or otherwise, and it's always awkward when you get your family together in social gatherings, any kind of awkward situation or interaction, especially with the reading of wills. That is just always strange, I feel like. It's somebody's intent when they're not there anymore to kind of dictate the way that they wanted it. But anyway, sometimes strange things are more valuable than we think, however. Wealth isn't always monetary. You can be wealthy in history, knowledge, understanding. Things can have wealth in sentimental value, educational value, nostalgia, you know? When my grandpa died, he had a really rich life. It's the only way it can be described. And everybody in my family received something. I just never expected that mine would be so morbid and, for lack of a better word, gross. Totally gross. I was left a golden ashtray, a deck of cards, which is in here, in this jade box that I was also left, and to my horror, I was left my grandfather's fake ceramic eye. The deck of cards is also in here, but let me explain. Francis T. Lucas, my grandfather, aka Frank, was ironically born September 8th today, 1916, however. He was a Czech-Irish man with humble beginnings. He grew up very gangs of New York, in New York City, very cold upbringing and very rough life. He had he was unconventional, even though he had a rough start. He was very dedicated to what he did. He was very determined and very curious about the world, and because of that, he joined the military at a very young age, and he was able to travel through this. He learned a lot of things. He studied really hard and did really well, and because of that, he was able to go up in the ranks pretty quickly. He met my grandmother in his travels. She was a tiny country, she was small, but she was from a tiny country town outside of Dallas, this place called Mesquite. They met in Dallas, and it was a very city boy, country girl type romance. Even though there was a 9-year age difference, they totally got along because they both had this burning curiosity to learn things about the world. After they got married, they both traveled together everywhere. They lived in Hong Kong, they lived in all these places. My grandpa had a decorated military career. He was the master translator of 7 languages for the military. He grew to be a lieutenant colonel at one point, and he was also the father of 5 and definitely a force to be reckoned with. He passed on his military status to a few of his sons. My uncle is actually still the director of intelligence at Kirtland Air Force Base today. My father had a very short military career, but that wasn't the only legacy he left behind. He survived 2 wars with a few battle scars and became a world traveler and forever maintained his charm through all of his ventures. He lost his eye in Korea, saving some of his men when they were walking through a field of landmines. He was trying to protect some of his soldiers and got shrapnel to the face. And he was the recipient of the Bronze Star Medal because of that. Even after retirement, though, he continued to entertain himself and everybody around him. I think he was just genuinely bored after having such a vetted career. He just wanted to keep things interesting, and some of his ventures included starting a Chinese restaurant, opening a motel. He opened an appraisal company that is still alive and well to this day. Some of his hobbies included, since he was a business expert and a people person, he had a pineapple farm when they lived in Hawaii. He was a master beekeeper. He bred betta fish. He was into horse trading, Arabian horses for races. He was really big on the real estate market, and some of his other favorite hobbies included cursing, smoking, drinking, and making people really uncomfortable because he was good at it. My dad and I both had really interesting childhoods around him because of who he was. And, sometimes I don't think we realize or we take for granted the strangeness of our families and how valuable sometimes that strangeness really is. When my grandpa died, I was the only granddaughter, and I expected to receive some awesome treasures from, his travels, And I did receive a lot of interesting objects. His gold ashtray that he used for everything, it's actually made out of shells from, he got it in Korea, and people would pick up the shells from the guns off the streets, and they actually made this ashtray out of some of the bullets. A deck of cards that he carried with him wherever he went. I think he always kind of thought life is the hand that you're drawn, but you gotta make the best out of it. This jade box that he bought while he was living in Hong Kong with my grandmother, and his eye, which was the strangest gift. As an 11-year-old receiving this, I was terrified. But I think I realize now as I get older that it was with him through all of his adventures, especially his happier ones after his military career ended and he was kind of able to do whatever he wanted. It was almost a poetic gift of memories, in a sense, and I think that's more valuable than anything I could have expected from all the other crazy things that he had to offer. We don't always understand the actions of others, especially as children with like young minds, and we're confused a lot, but sometimes you have to look through the eyes of somebody else, literally, figuratively, ceramically, to understand why some things are important.